First off, Mosey and Carbonite, which I speak to a lot of doctors, and this is what they typically use, it is not HIPAA compliant. And the definition of what makes a software HIPAA compliant is it has to be 256-bit encrypted. So that's a certain encryption level so that if the information is ever compromised, that it cannot be restored. You need the encryption key, obviously, to restore it. Now, this is what you need to look for. I could talk to you until you're blue in the face with all these specifics that are rather technical, but at a very high level, what's really important with data backup is that the data backup has native SQL and Exchange, or we call that SQL, Exchange backup capabilities. Every one of the practices that I speak with are working with a dental practice management software. So that could either be EagleSoft, Dentrix, there's so many of them. Every one of these dental practice management software are written in SQL. So if you're backing up to Carbonite or Mosey and you're doing this offline, you cannot restore a SQL database with those backup companies. So that is why what we come across is if we go to EagleSoft or we go to Dentrix, some practices are paying upwards of $300 to $400 a month for their data backup. That's because those data backup services are providing SQL and Exchange. So if you go down, what typically happens when I talk about restoration, what happens is if you're going to restore, you typically just get what we call a data dump. And you need to, or IT people need to map that data back to a specific program. So for example, if you're using QuickBooks and you lose all your data, you need to map all the data that you're getting back to your QuickBooks. So typically, backup is not mapped. So that's another part that we provide is our backup has SQL, and it is fully mapped. And if you ever do have a data backup, if you go down, there are fines and penalties for each day that you're down. So it's critical that this restoration plan is in place beforehand and that you're aware of what to do if you ever come in and you do lose your data, because this literally put a practice out of business. So this is some of the most important information, if I could preach anything, is I speak to so many doctors and they say their biggest fear is the loss of their data. And it's critical that you safeguard double backup, triple backups. You need to put in all these proper protections. And this is what we do. These are simple steps that you can take for your practice and that you can rest easy so that if anything ever does happen that's unforeseen, that you're properly protected and you can get your data back. That's the key. I can't stress that enough. It's never about backup. It's always about restoration.